now. Are you ready? Okay. Yes. All right, first, can we have Philip Harris come up? He's representing Bert Richardson, and we'll give him 2 minutes. Hold your applause for a second. Yeah, this one's going to be yours. You have 2 minutes. Just keep an eye on her.
Hello, everybody.
Sorry. You got it?
Now it's on.
Hello, everybody. My name is Philip Harris. I'm here representing Judge Bert Richardson, who's the incumbent Republican on the Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3, running for re-election. He is the constitutional conservative on the ballot in March for Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3. Let me tell you briefly what the court does, in case you're not familiar. The Court of Criminal Appeals is basically the Supreme Court for criminal law in Texas. They resolve the most difficult questions of criminal law. Things that lower courts might disagree on, the Court of Criminal Appeals makes the final decision. They also review all death penalty cases automatically. If somebody's given the death penalty in a trial court, here in Montgomery County or anywhere in Texas, that case goes straight to the Court of Criminal Appeals. And they're the ones that decide whether that conviction stands or not. And then finally, they review something called a writ of habeas corpus. It's kind of a complicated legal mechanism. Basically, it's inmates that are petitioning directly to the court to basically be released from prison. These are inmates, these are criminals from Montgomery County and all over the state who've been given, in many cases, life sentences. And so what I want y'all to take away is that experience matters on the Court of Criminal Appeals. Judge Bert Richardson is eminently qualified for this position. He has decades of experience as an attorney and as a judge. He was a district court judge for 10 years in Bexar County. After that, he was a visiting judge, and what that means is that he was asked to preside over some of the most complex and sometimes very contentious trials across the state. Judge Bert Richardson faithfully follows the law. To him, it doesn't matter who the defendant is. It doesn't matter if they're rich and powerful. It doesn't matter if they're indigent, if they don't have any money. To him, it's about faithfully following the law and the Constitution, and that's why he deserves your vote for Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3. Well, I'll be here if you think of any questions.
All right, so now we're going to have everyone for Chief Justice, 9th Court of Appeals. Jared Walker, did you make it?
Yes,
no?
I did. He's here.
Yeah, okay. All right, head on up. Gentlemen, can one of you grab an extra chair, please?
There's an extra one.
Oh, there's an extra one just here. Never mind, you're good. Come on
Is
up.
the order on the ballot or just?
Yes, if you know, go ahead and sit in order. Got it? Do you know the order? If not, just have a quick seat. One would be right here closest. All right, so you have 3 minutes to introduce yourself, and then pass it on down.
Ready? Go. Hi, my name is Chuck Meyer, and I would like to be your next Chief Justice. I want to start off with some breaking news, because it's very important. I'm pleased and proud to announce that Texas Right to Life has endorsed my campaign. So all of you who are pro-life voters, remember that when you go to the polls. I'd like to review my 31 years as a lawyer, but I'd also like to review my years as an engineer and a businessman. If you bear with me, I apologize that I didn't pass out, don't need that, to everyone my resume. Unlike my opponents, they're trial lawyers. They'll treat you like a juror. They'll try to make the case to you as a juror. I'm trying to make the case to you as my employer. How do you employ me? You vote for me. You make me your Chief Justice. From work experience, I'm currently a Hardin County prosecutor. I do the appellate briefs that go before this very court. Now, you might say it's Hardin County, it's not Montgomery County. Why is that relevant? Well, A, Hardin County is in this judicial district, and B, the criminals don't really care what county they're convicted in. If you've seen the rap sheets of some of the people that I've filed appellate briefs for, you'd know that they were from many counties. My job there is to keep the convicted and the sentenced in prison, and I protect the jury verdicts of we the people of the state of Texas. I'm also a small business lawyer and patent attorney. I was an engineer in my first job. I designed computer systems to let the nation's leaders know when under nuclear attack. I did this at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. during the Reagan buildup. I went from there to be a patent examiner, and later on in life I became a patent attorney. I represent entrepreneurs. In that capacity, I was pleased and privileged to be the chief legal officer of BlackBerry, that phone company that you may all remember. I have 60 seconds left, so I won't talk about BlackBerry. We'll talk about my role there. Not only did I go from being the chief legal officer, but I went to the business side. I was the business leader of BlackBerry Europe. I sold hundreds of thousands of BlackBerries to unsuspecting Europeans. But it was a leadership position. BlackBerry was a publicly traded company. I was their chief legal officer. And as the head of BlackBerry Europe, I had 102 people in my employ. I'm the only candidate that has had that extensive a leadership experience. Finally, I've been a judicial law clerk to 2 judges. I've worked for judges, and not only have I worked for judges, but I've drafted legal opinions. I did so for a federal district court judge who sits in San Antonio, and I also did it for a state Supreme Court justice. Unfortunately, he has passed away, but both those men were great mentors to me to know what it's like to be a Republican judge. The federal district court judge was appointed by Ronald Reagan, and the justice was elected by the people of the state of Ohio. I see my time is up. I don't want to get the hook. I'll talk to you later. Thank you for your time.
I'm Jay Wright, and I'm running for Chief Justice of the Ninth Court of Appeals. I'm the little guy with the little signs. You see them? Did you know that when our founding fathers wrote our Constitution and its amendments, that they said a man could marry a man and a woman could marry a woman? Did you know that? I didn't either. After they made that decision in 2016, I went back and looked at the Constitution and its amendments, and it does not say that. It does not say that. What that is the Obergefell decision, is a perfect example of judicial activism, where the judges these days do not follow the original intent of the founders of our nation and the writers of our Constitution and our amendments. Our nation has gotten away from its roots, from the Judeo-Christian roots. And that's why I'm running for Chief Justice of the Court. Now, I've been practicing law for 34 years. I started in Corpus Christi. I was born and raised there, came up to law school at University of Houston for 3 miserable years, and then I went back to Corpus Christi. And could not get in the courtroom because I looked about 15 or 16 years old at the time. And so I went to work after a few months prosecuting in the county attorney's office, and I did that for nearly 7 years. I started out prosecuting criminal cases like obscenity and DWIs and things along those lines. And then I was made chief of the section, where I supervised 5 attorneys, 2 paralegals, secretaries. Well, the supervision part I hated. But I handled the high-profile case and the difficult cases for the office. And when I was getting ready to go into private practice, the boss asked me to become the civil section chief. And so I thought, okay, I need to learn civil law. So I was the civil section chief the last 2.5 years, where I defended the county in civil lawsuits, federal lawsuits, state lawsuits, and then advised the commissioners and advised the county departments and things like that, and did juvenile prosecution actually, which was unusual, and actually tried an attempted capital murder case and got convictions, adjudications we call them. So I ran for county attorney in Corpus Christi as a Republican in 1992, and if you remember, that's when Ross Perot jumped in the race with President Bush Sr., and it was a bad year for Republicans, myself included. And so I was not elected, so I went into private practice in 1993. And if you could imagine the kind of cases I did. Well, I did criminal defense, I did civil, I did civil business type litigation, I did personal injury, both sides, plaintiff and defending it. I did probate cases, I did family law, lots of family law cases, divorces in custody, and I've done over 117 appeals that I'm of record on. I actually did more than that when I was with the county attorney's office, but my name's not on it. And I've done all kinds of appeals. And so I am asking for your support and your vote for Chief Justice because of my experience. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Goldman, and I'm running for Chief Justice of the Ninth District Court of Appeals. I appreciate your vote, I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you spreading the word. And most of y'all are going, well, what in the world is the Court of Appeals? Because y'all are familiar with Montgomery County, we have county courts at law, we've got district courts. And the Court of Appeals is totally different from those. You're gonna get a judgment out of one of those courts, and somebody's not gonna be happy. And they have the opportunity to appeal that decision to the Court of Appeals. And there's 4 justices that sit over there in Beaumont that decide all these cases. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to look at that court record, and you have to determine, was the appropriate laws applied and followed? Did the appropriate rules of procedure applied and followed? The appropriate rules of evidence applied and followed? Did the judge act properly? Did the attorneys act properly? Did the parties act properly? And if it was a fair trial, you uphold the judgment. If it's not, you send it back. So what do you have to have as a justice in order to do that? Well, you have to know how all of those rules and all of that evidence intertwines and intermeshes to review that record to see if it was fair. And the only way you get that is if you have extensive trial experience. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got over 300 civil jury trials under my belt. And I'll tell you right now, I've never tried a criminal case. And this court hears criminal and civil cases. But the rules are different. There's very little difference in the rules of procedure. There's more rules on civil cases because you have all the pre-trial discovery, and the civil cases are much more complex, much more difficult than the criminal cases. The rules of evidence between civil and criminal are the same. And believe it or not, our Chief Justice only tried 15 to 20 misdemeanor criminal trials. And our other 3 justices never tried a criminal case. We're all educated, we can all learn, we can all apply the law. And I'm not going to go up there and try to change decisions that the U.S. Supreme Court has decided or the Texas Supreme Court has decided. If I did that, it'd be legislating from the bench. I'm going to follow the law, I'm going to enforce the law. And before you leave tonight, I want all of y'all to grab one of my push cards. And please review it, please check on us. And when you read the back of this push card, you're going to find out why I'm running for this position. Where I will follow and enforce the laws, I will not legislate from the bench, and I will uphold our laws and our Constitution. So please vote Scott Goldman for Chief Justice. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jared Walker, and guess what? I'm running for Chief Justice of the Ninth Court of Appeals. Let me start by apologizing for my tardiness. There was a big wreck out on 1485. I don't know if any of y'all got hung up behind that, but I did. And I want to thank Scott for doing the tutorial on what the Ninth Court of Appeals is. So I'll start with talking about resume. I was born or raised over in West County, about as far as you can get from here in Pinehurst. And then I went to undergraduate at Texas Tech University, and I got my law degree from Ole Miss. About 26 years ago, I hung out my shingle in Conroe, and I've been there ever since. I would say the smartest move I've ever made is 21 years ago, I married an East County girl. And if you want to hear the backstory around, he'll tell it to you. But anyway, let's talk about what this job requires, and that is experience. I want to talk about experience in 3 specific areas. We are running for Chief Justice. This is a 4-justice court, and the Chief Justice, in addition to all the duties that a judge has has the additional responsibilities of administration. I can tell you I have extensive experience in administration and running a law firm with a budget that was actually bigger than the budget of this court. And one of the things I can promise you is that I would be a good steward of your tax dollars. Secondly, trial experience. 90% of the cases, there are probably way more than 90% of the cases that come before this court are going to involve appeals of jury trials. And I have experience in all areas, whether that be civil, criminal, family, you name it, I've done it. And if you're going to be reviewing trial cases, it is essential that you have been in the trenches there. In addition to that, appeals. We all have great resumes, no doubt about it. We wouldn't be sitting up here if everybody wasn't incredibly experienced in some areas. But the third area is appeals. The number is somewhere around 90 appeals that I've handled before 8 of the 14 courts of appeals throughout the state of Texas. So, my name is Jared Walker. I thank you for your attention, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Hi, good evening. My name is Colleen Quartz-Rice, and I too am running for Chief Justice of the 9th District Court of Appeals. I want to thank the East County Republican Women so much for having this forum and for all of you that turned out in the yucky weather. First, a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas. Went to college in Atlanta, Georgia, at a small private school called Agnes Scott College, but got back to Texas pretty much as soon as I graduated and could. I went to South Texas College of Law and graduated from there. And it was during my time in law school that I met my spouse, Larry Rice. He and I operate a small private practice in Conroe, Rice, and Rice, PC. We have 4 children that we've been raising here in Montgomery County, and we plan to stay. But that being said, if I'm elected to this bench, I'll be spending all week in Beaumont with my family who's still there, so that I can serve as the Chief Justice and give the due respect to the 3 other justices that are there all of the time. My husband and I have brought our children up with conservative Christian values, and it's some of those values that helped to make me decide to run for this bench. I currently have a really unique position. I work for County Court at Law number 2 here in Montgomery County. Judge Laird there runs a civil court and handles all of the probate for the county. And within probate is also guardianship law for incapacitated adults. So for the past 2.5 years, I've been there and monitoring all of the guardianships and hearing all of the guardianship applications for people who may have been like you and me and had the misfortune to have a head injury, get dementia, or they may have been born with some sort of illness that leads to a deficit in their mental capacity. And because of my job there, I think a couple of things. I have a servant's heart, and I love people, but I also love the law. I really actually loved law school. I love the research, I love the writing, and I like to do this job because that's what it entails. Kind of would be leaving the people behind, but I'm willing to do that to focus on the law and preserving the law, and protecting the law, and honoring our constitutions of Texas and the United States. So those are some of the reasons. Some of my experience is that I've been in private practice since 1996 and then worked for the court for the past 2.5 years. So I have a lot of experience, mostly in civil law and in reviewing cases in the past 2.5 years for County Court 2. Judge Laird doesn't need a lot of help, but sometimes she'll call on me to look into the law and to brief things for her. So I'm already looking at things from that sort of an angle. So I adore my job now, but I felt called to serve in a greater capacity. There are only 16 Chief Justices in the entire state of Texas, and what the court needs and what you need is a good leader, and that would be me. So please consider me when you vote for Chief Justice on the Republican Party ticket in a couple of weeks. Thanks.
All right, to save some time, if you want, you're welcome to to just stand at the table so you're not all shuffling since there's so many of you. You can stand or stay seated at the table while I ask you the 2 questions. And with each of these questions, you will have 1 minute to answer, and Jeopardy music will be playing in the background. Start here, and then Colleen will start the second question. All right, first question. How many cases have you tried before a court, district or federal, and what was your success rate?
Well, in terms of criminal appeals, my success rate is 100% with Hardin County. I've prosecuted the criminal appeals, all of them, for Hardin County since 2013, I think. I am not a trial attorney, and I disagree. One of the biggest disagreements I have with the gentleman and the lady up here is that you have to be a trial attorney in order to be an appellate advocate or to be an appellate judge. I worked for an appellate judge at Ohio Supreme Court. It was quite an honor. And also, I'm the only one on this panel who's ever drafted opinions. And you do not have to be a trial attorney in order to do your job as an appellate advocate or an appellate judge. I've done it for Hardin County. I've reviewed the record. It hasn't been hard just because I haven't been a trial attorney. So I've hired people that did trials when I was the chief legal officer of BlackBerry, and they did a much better job than I would. I'm a writer, I'm an editor, I'm a researcher. I was on my law review, not only at American University, but at Oxford University, where I got an LLM degree, and thank you, I'm out of time.
Pass it on to Jim.
Well, I have tried over 140 jury trials. Most of my first probably 60 cases were criminal prosecutions. Generally won about 2 out of 3. Right? And then, after I left the county attorneys, I've done mostly civil trials involving all types of business disputes, both on the plaintiff side and on the defense side. Part of my practice has been to either appeal cases where either I win and the other side appeals, or if we lost and then I appeal, or people hire me to do appeals, and that's why I've done over 117 appeals that I'm on record on, which is far more than anybody else on the dais. And I think it's important that if you're reviewing a case that you had that went to a trial and you had to appeal it for some reason, you would like someone on the court who's had a trial like that before so they can understand what you went through. And that's why I think that you have to have the experience of having done trials so that you could be able to review trials. Thank you.
Well, like I earlier said, I've never tried a criminal case in my life. I've handled civil cases that involve family law issues, that involve criminal issues. I've handled over 50 appeals that have gone before the Texas Supreme Court, and I've handled appeals in 10 out of the 14 Court of Appeals across the state of Texas. Like I said earlier, I have over 300 civil jury trials. And when you get to the Court of Appeals, the majority of the most difficult, complex cases involve civil trials, civil jury trials, and that's what I've done. As a matter of fact, my longest trial was 6 weeks long in federal court in Houston. I probably had a couple of dozen federal trials. And it was against our Chief Justice, Steve McKeithen, right now, when he was a Montgomery County attorney. Went 6 weeks long. I've had at least a couple of cases that have lasted a month, multiple cases that have lasted 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and I can't even tell you the dozens of cases I've handled that have lasted a week. I have the most trial experience, and I feel like I'm the most qualified. Thank you.
Just the opposite of Scott, I've tried about a gazillion criminal cases. And, but I want to talk about breadth of trial experience. This court does not have the luxury of choosing what type of cases it's going to hear. So when you talk about trial experience, and I disagree with Chuck, it is a necessary qualification for this job. I've tried family cases, I've tried civil cases, and as I said before, I lost count of how many criminal cases I've tried. So when the question is trial experience, sometimes, once again, it's a fair fight up here, but I don't think anybody matches my experience in that regard.
So I think think it's fair to say we all have a lot of experience with the law. I've done a lot of work, mostly civil, some transactional civil work. I've spent a lot of time doing family law, probate work, general civil litigation. And one of the things that I think you need to know is that of all of us, our peers have made a choice in the Texas State Bar poll, which is sent out by the bar to attorneys practicing in our district. And they overwhelmingly chose me when they went to vote to be the Chief Justice. And also, I've never had a grievance from any of my clients. So I'd say that's a pretty good satisfaction rate. And I guess I'll leave it there.
Well, if you want, you can go ahead and hold on to it, and you can start the second question. What do you see as a problem for the current court system, and what will you do to try to correct this problem?
The current court system is being operated really quite efficiently. By all means, Chief Justice McKeithen has done a really good job of making sure that the court is running efficiently. The justices all take their positions very, very seriously. I think one of the challenges, no matter who's elected, will be sliding in there as the leader of the court when we have no experience being on the court, when there are 3 other justices already sitting there that have been there for years doing the work. And then to be the one who does represent the court in Austin and deal with the budget will be a little bit challenging no matter who is chosen. But I think keeping up with efficiency in light of the state of Texas growing and the number of cases growing so much. I just read an article last week about how the number of cases filed in 2019 was much, much greater, and all of those cases generate appeals, so there's really no way to turn off the faucet. Whatever is appealed, and the court has to deal with it. So I think keeping up with numbers is going to be a little tricky.
It would be a lot funner if I could come up with an answer telling you how horrible things are at the Ninth Court of Appeals, but I think we would all agree that things are going great up there. The closure rate of cases exceeds 100%. So the message you'll hear from this dais right now is stay the course. As my opponent mentioned, these administrative duties, this is strange. All the other 3 justices will automatically have more experience than their new boss, the new Chief Justice, who will be making decisions as far as how administration works, the hiring process, and all those things. So the biggest challenge for the court, I think, is simply going to be new leadership. But as far as how specifically the Ninth Court of Appeals is running, it's running good. So.
Well, the good news is, just like Jared said, is that the Ninth District Court of Appeals is the most conservative court of appeals in the state of Texas, and that's where I want to keep it. As far as the administration, I don't mean to belittle it, but the Chief Justice gets paid $2,500 more than the other 3 justices for handling the administrative duties. Less than 10%, and most of that is during the legislative session when they go up there for the budget. But guess what? There's 80 Court of Appeals justices in the state of Texas, 14 Court of Appeals, and the budget is actually identical for every justice. And 95% of the state budget goes to salaries and benefits of the justices and all their staffs. So that's all decided by the state. No Chief Justice has to be involved in that. Now, if there's disputes between personnel, things of that nature, that's where he steps in. All of us have been involved in running a law firm. I ran Haas & Goldman for years. So we all have experience with administration. It's not that big a deal. Thank you.
I believe the question was, what is the biggest problem facing this court? It's the same problem that's facing all the courts in Montgomery County in particular, because when I moved here at the end of 2000, the beginning of 2001, there was a little over 300,000 people in Montgomery County, and now there's over 600,000 people. It's doubled in 20 years, and it's going to continue growing. More people, more lawyers, more cases filed and tried, more appeals. So we're going to have the same problem on the Court of Appeals that we're having in our trial courts. And so we have to stay ahead of the docket. they're adding courts in Montgomery County, but we have to stay ahead of the docket. We gotta make sure that we get the opinions written and produced in time, in a timely fashion, and control that docket, because once it gets out of control and you're behind, you can almost never catch up. But that's the plan.
Well, I also have a little disagreement with my fellow member of the panel, because I think this court can be more efficient. And I think it can be more efficient in two distinct ways. When I went over and talked to some of the justices on the court, the biggest complaint I had from them, the computer system sucks. I'm sorry if that offends any of you, but it really does not do the job that the justices and the lawyers need in that court. Now, what can the Chief Justice do about that? Probably not much, except the Chief Justices sit in committees. And my intention is to be on the committee that deals with IT for the court system, not just for the Court of Appeals, but also for the entire court system. And then very briefly, I also differ with my opponents in that I think we spend too much on legal services in this state. Just as everyone complains about health care, lawyer bills are exceedingly high, it takes a lot of time. In court, I want to see a mediation program in this court. Other courts of appeals have mediation programs. I'm a mediator, as well as the other things that I told you about. And that cuts legal costs. If we could have a true, dedicated mediation program for the Court of Appeals. Thank you.
You hold on to it, because now you get your 1 minute. Wrap it up and pass it on.
I need water. We talk about the right to a fair trial, but most of us forget that you have a right of appeal. The Court of Appeals cannot deny your appeal from the trial court. It's very important that you think about who is going to protect that right of appeal. I'm the one that has the most experience both within and outside law. I was the corporate secretary of BlackBerry. I dealt with a board of directors that is equivalent to dealing with other justices on the court. I'm the only candidate that has been endorsed by the Texas Homeschool Coalition, and I'm the only candidate who has used his law degree to benefit the Republican Party. I was deployed in 2012 and 2016 to the swing state of Ohio to make sure that the election was fair. You want to elect a Republican? I was also a delegate to the Republican convention for Trump in 2016. So, if you want a Republican, if you want someone who's been endorsed by pro-life, if you want someone who has leadership experience in IT, I'm the guy. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can reverse the course that the media has put us on that's trying to lead us down the road to socialism. We can return to the principles of the Founding Fathers, our Judeo-Christian values, but it's got to be done one judge at a time, one court at a time. And that's what I've been advocating for years, actually. That's why I've been endorsed by the Montgomery County Tea Party. That's why I've been endorsed by the Freedom and Liberty Conservative PAC, another active group here in Montgomery County. And because I believe they understand that we have to have judges on all of our courts of appeals, and it's got to spread throughout the country, where we return to our basic Judeo-Christian values. I'm a pro-life Catholic. I've always been pro-life, and I want to protect life from the inception all the way to natural death. And I want to do everything I can to do that through our laws, following the law. And that's all the time I have, but I thank you and appreciate your support.
Well, the problem is you're asking a trial attorney to only talk for a total of 6 minutes, okay? And we're all gonna stand up here and tell you how qualified we are. And it's impossible for you to make that determination. So what I want you to do is I want you to go and research each one of us. We've all filled out vetting questionnaires for Montgomery County Tea Party, for the Texas Patriot PAC, for the Republican voters of Texas PAC. It's got all our answers. It's got specific answers about how many cases we've tried, how many cases we've appealed. So go and look and see there's no such thing as gazillions. But check us out, research us, and what you're going to find out is the Texas Patriot PAC has endorsed me, the Republican voters of Texas has recommended me, and the Texas Civil Justice League out of Austin that researches and comes up with conservative, Judicial Candidates has endorsed me. So please do your research and check us out, and vote for Scott Goldman for Chief Justice. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, we don't pay a penny to get these endorsements.
Scott, pass it on, buddy.
Sit down. And Scott caught me. I did exaggerate my trial experience. It's not actually a gazillion. But I would invite you to research all of this. There is, one of the things you can do is the Texas Court of Appeals. They have a website. It's run by the state. You can go there, you punch in our names, and you can see what we've done as far as appeals. As I mentioned earlier, everybody up here has an impressive resume, but I'll end where I began, and that is 3 things: administrative experience, trial experience, appellate experience. Some of us have great experience in one area, but maybe weak in the others. I would submit to you that I have the most experience at all 3. Thank you.
I'm here tonight because I want to protect and to serve. I want to serve you, the people, by being a hardworking justice. I don't care if you get 25 cents extra to do the administrative parts of this job. It is very important, and I can promise you that I will do my very best to do everything possible to run an efficient court. And I want to serve you by doing so. I want to protect the law by applying the law as it is written. I too have conservative Christian values. I'm as pro-life as you can get. I raised 4 children, am raising 4 children. But I will not impose my will upon the people. I will look fairly at every single case and interpret the law as it is written, and only make tough decisions and only make the decisions that are appropriate when necessary. So I ask that you would come by and pick up a card if you're interested in learning more about my campaign, find out about my Facebook page and my web page, and I'd ask for your vote. I'll be 5th on the ballot in Montgomery County, and also to spread the word to your friends and neighbors who may, or not your neighbors, but your friends and family.
Colleen.
Thank you.
All right, let's give our candidates a round. So, on that note, are we ready? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Are we all sitting?
Well, yeah, we're fine.
Okay, did anybody here, yeah, show them, the challenge coins at, we're just gonna start, there you go, right there. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and just go on down the table, and then I'll come back and ask questions. Go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Clyde Vogel. I want to thank the East Montgomery County Republican Women for giving us a voice and allowing us to come over here and speak. Get kind of nervous speaking in front of folks. I'm not a politician. I'm a policeman and a leader. So a little bit about me is I worked in the private sector for about 12 years after I graduated high school. I went to some college. I figured school wasn't for me, so I continued working. In doing so, I worked my way in a chemical plant from a helper all the way up to a supervisor. I was supervising guys who were 3 times my age when I left there. 2002, I went to work for Conroe PD. In 2006, I transferred to narcotics with a canine. From there, in 2012, I worked my dog till 2012. And then I went to undercover narcotics. I've conducted operations with as many as 15 different agencies participating. I know how to be a leader. I know what it takes to get along with others in any branch of law enforcement to make our communities better. Since 2017, I've promoted to a patrol sergeant. I'm directly responsible for 7 and as many as 20 at one time. That's more than Precinct 2 have right now. In saying that, my guys at Conroe PD On my shift, my 7, when you look at numbers, arrests, primary calls, secondary calls, traffic stops, we outperform Precinct 2 Constable's office way heads above what they're doing there. My name's Clyde Vogel, number 1 on the ballot. I appreciate your vote.
Hello, everyone. My name's Daniel Pena. A little bit about myself. I'm a father of 7. I have 5 girls, 2 boys. I've been raising my nephew since my brother passed away several years ago. I've been with the Sheriff's Office now for 15 years, been in law enforcement for 16. Currently assigned to our SWAT team. Within that assignment, I'm tasked with several duties. One is I do the active shooter training for private sector, public, churches, bunch of different stuff. I run the dignitary team for the county, so at times I'm in charge of 30 people, and as little as 10, depending on what we're doing. Like my opponent said, I've worked in every aspect of law enforcement, and not just law enforcement. I'm a civil servant. I'm also a certified paramedic. I worked as a wildland firefighter. I've also volunteered as a firefighter as well. I'm currently a warrant officer with the State Guard. Obviously, Texans helping Texans. So you can see I have a passion for civil service, for public safety. I do it on my off time. I teach medical classes for public health, for churches, daycares, whoever calls. You know, I know we only have 2 minutes, so it's hard to say everything that we've done in our background. I've been, like I said, 16 years with the county, and it's hard. It's just something I'd love to do is public safety. You know, if I couldn't do this without my wife, you know, everything I do is because of the wife. She has my backing, so she couldn't be here today because she has our kids at home. So she allows me to come out and do this. If you want more about my resume, my background, please take the time, go to my Facebook page, look at it, research it, my campaign page as well. You can see my undergrad was in Homeland Security and Emergency Management. My master's degree was in security management, and I'm working on a cybersecurity degree as well. So everything I've done is for law enforcement and public safety, and my time's up. Thank you.
Good evening. Well, that was loud. My name is David Eason. I'm obviously running for Montgomery County, Precinct 2 Constable. I can't tell you who I am in 2 or 3 minutes, so I will tell you that I've made some videos about myself and what I stand for. They're on my Facebook page. They're also on my YouTube channel. I encourage you to check out my Facebook and also my website, eason2020.com. If you have any questions for me, please reach out to me. I've been in law enforcement for 22 years. I grew up in a conservative Christian family. Both my father and my brother are both police officers that served in Montgomery County. I started in 1998 at Harris County Sheriff's Office, where I worked patrol and in the jail before coming to Montgomery County in 2008 as a criminal investigator. I worked persons and property, auto theft. I worked homicide for 7 years. I've got the training, I've got the experience and the leadership to lead Precinct 2 with honor and integrity. And you know, life is about personal relationships, and that's one of the things that I want to do is foster trusted relationships with the businesses, the citizens in the county, and mutual aid with other law enforcement officers, other law enforcement agencies to provide better coverage in working with these other agencies out there. So I just want to encourage you to check out my Facebook and go and look at these videos and read up on us and do the research to find out who the best candidate. I've been endorsed by Voters of Texas PAC, very proud of that, and also by former Sheriff Joe Corley and Sheriff Tommy Gage. My name is David Eason. I'm position 3 on the ballot, and I thank you for your time.
I'm Gene DeForest. I am your constable. I've been your constable for over 19 years. I was born a poor white child, upstate New York. Went in the United States Marine Corps, served my time. The Marine Corps dumped me in California, and I got here to Texas as quick as I could. Finally worked my way up here to Conroe, and went to work for Conroe Police Department
Worked for them for nearly 20 years when I ran for office and took office back in 2001. I've been your constable ever since. I've been in law enforcement over 45 years. I've been married to my wife for over 45 years. I have a daughter, 2 beautiful granddaughters. Lucky they're not here tonight because this place would have been rearranged. I want to tell you that I love my job. I love working for you. Like I say, I'm not a politician. I'm in politics, but I will never be a politician. I will never stand up here and tell you what I think you want to hear. I will tell you the truth. And the truth is what I believe in. And I have no way to be able to tell you everything about Gene DeForest in 2 minutes for sure. It would take me at least an hour. But I work for you. I work very close with all the law enforcement agencies in Montgomery County, including Roddy Hayden. We work very close together. I work very close with Conroe Police Department. We have since the day I took office. I believe in professionalism, pride, honesty, and integrity. It's what I built the foundation of the Precinct 2 Constable's office on. I work for you, the people. I don't work for anybody else. I work for you, the people that elected me and put me in office. Whether you live in Precinct 4, whether you live in Precinct 5, 3, or 1, I work for the people, and I do things for the people. And I love the Republican women. I'll do anything for the Republican women. I think you are the backbone of the Montgomery County Republican Party, and you all need to stand up and take a bow.
Hold on to it, we'll just go backwards. All right. What experience as a leader qualifies you the most to be elected constable?
Well, that's simple. I've been your constable for over 19 years. I've been a leader. I know what it's like. I've been a supervisor. I've been a sergeant with a law enforcement agency. When I first come to Conroe, I worked for an oil field company and supervised 20 people. I did all the purchasing for the company. I was in charge of shipping, receiving, warehouse, tool crib. I was in charge of everything that went out the door and came in the door. I know what it's like to be a supervisor, and I know what it's like to be a leader. Two big different aspects of being a leader and a supervisor. Being a leader, you have a lot of responsibilities. You have responsibilities of everything. A supervisor, you just have one responsibility, and that's the people below you. But as a leader, you're responsible for the whole office. Everything that goes on in that office. You're responsible for the budget. You're responsible for everything. Anything that goes wrong, the buck stops here. Right?
So, prior to law enforcement, I worked as a health and safety director for an environmental company, a Superfund site here in Conroe, where I supervised approximately 50 guys for a couple of years before becoming a police officer. And then also in criminal investigations, you know, you're the lead person who's responsible for some really complex investigations and scenes, and I've worked hundreds of complex scenes that have led teams of people from the crime scene to the courtroom. And being a leader is about leading from the front, boots on the ground, never asking your people to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself, and always treat people with dignity and respect. And so I have 100% faith that I could lead that agency, like I said, with honor and integrity, and I appreciate your vote and your support.
Prior to law enforcement, I worked as an operations supervisor for a pharmaceutical company. Did the hiring, the firing. It was a multi-million-dollar corporation. I worked for them for several years. Recently, with the SWAT team, my current position is as a team leader. So I handle and manage large SWAT scenes, complex scenes that we see on the TV, see on TV, we read in the news. I'm the team leader with the SWAT team, military protection, also a warrant officer with the State Guard. So I do have several years of leadership experience, and I'm gonna take the rest of my time to tell you that I didn't mention it earlier because I ran out of time. I'm the only candidate that was endorsed by both divides of the Republican Party. The Montgomery County Tea Party, the Texas Patriot PAC, and the Republican Voters of Texas PAC. And I also got the endorsement from Latino for President PAC. And that's all my time.
So let me say right quick, the number one job of a leader is to train other leaders. Okay? That's what our job is as leaders or supervisors. I've done that. When I worked in narcotics, I trained guys who promoted before me. When I work in patrol now as a patrol supervisor, I have guys that promote or lateral out from under to go to CID because of the leadership that they're getting there. So that is the number one job of a leader, is to train new leaders. And I believe that I do that. I've been to the schools, I've been to FBI LEADA, I've been to supervisor schools. I know what it takes, and I'm the only candidate in this race who's done that just prior to running for constable.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's give them a round of applause.
Hi, my name is Eric Yalik, and I'm running for the 457th District Court, and I do ask you for your vote. There are two issues. One is a local and one is a national issue. The local issue in this race is efficiency of our civil docket in Montgomery County. We have a backlog that is enormous in this county. We currently have one full-time district court and another third of a full-time district court in this county. The legislature created the 457th District Court to be a civil district court. I've done civil litigation for almost 31 years. Now, I want to be very clear. We have got to move the civil docket in this county. When you delay justice, it not only costs you, the taxpayers, an enormous amount of money, but it also costs the litigants, especially business owners, enormous amounts of money. And we cannot tolerate that in a conservative community like Montgomery County. The second issue that I believe is a national issue, but as actually Jay Wright mentioned during his speech earlier tonight, it's one judge at a time. We've got to have judges who will follow the law. Now, sometimes following the law hurts. There's a lot of politics in every courtroom. You always see people you know, you always see people you like, you always see people you may not like so much. But as a judge, you've got to follow the law no matter how much it may hurt you to do that. Judges and courts are not there to act as super legislators. We don't need an Obergefell decision in Montgomery County. We don't need to legislate and create marriage that is between two men when we all know that that's not what marriage is. Same thing, we need to protect our rights under the Second Amendment and under the Constitution. That's what judges are for. Judges need to enforce the law.
Shot my 3-minute speech down to a 2-minute speech. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Kasperzak. My friends call me Bobby. You can also call me Bobby now. Throughout this campaign, we have all tried to explain to you our background and experience as lawyers and how that makes us the right fit for this job. I agree that it is an incredibly important criteria to evaluate a candidate's qualifications, but it is a threshold issue. The American Bar Association historically provides input to the president on federal judicial appointments. The very first thing they look at is whether the candidate has been practicing the particular type of law that the court is going to administer for a minimum of 12 years. That's because they've evaluated it, that it takes that long to acquire what they call a fundamental understanding of the law. Any seasoned civil attorney will tell you that years of family law or criminal law practice do not provide you with any real understanding of the vast expanse that is civil law. Surprise, surprise, this court will hear all civil cases. In my 15-year career, all in civil law, I've dealt with issues ranging from evictions, car accidents, insurance claims, business contracts, products liability, fraud, collections, enforcing judgments, securities, intellectual property, construction defect, wrongful death, county and city development, trespass, sales, shareholder derivative suits, those are fun, and land disputes. I've been called upon to understand the laws of other nations in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. I've litigated or otherwise been actively engaged with the laws of California, Virginia, New York, Ohio, Kentucky, Texas, and federal laws. I have the broadest scope of civil litigation engagements amongst my opponents by far, and several of them have been practicing for twice as long as me. But that's part of my story. I'm a student of the Constitution, I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, though I don't wear my politics or my religion on my sleeve. I hold myself to high ethical and moral standards. I'm passionate about this job. I respect and honor it, and I hope I can earn your vote on March 3rd and prove you right every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, East Montgomery County. My name is Vince Santini, and I'm running for the 457th District Court. And when I think of East Montgomery County, because I've worked out here a lot, I've done a lot of good for this community in my career. I think of what Crystal said, Crystal Moore, the president of the East Montgomery County Republican Women's, and what y'all look for in your elected officials. And Crystal said, y'all look for someone who's genuine, someone with a servant's heart, that has integrity, that does the right thing like come and set up tables without being asked. That's what y'all look for, good, God-fearing Christian conservatives that follow the Constitution. Now, I'm not going to listen to some federal case bureaucracy telling us what our courts are about, how many years. Here's what the Constitution says are the qualifications for this court, and I'm going to follow the Constitution as a judge. U.S. citizen, a resident of Montgomery County for 2 years, Texas law license for 4 years of practice. I've dedicated my entire career to serving Montgomery County, and I've tried cases here, capital murders. I've gotten murderers off of East Montgomery County streets, off of 59, off the feeder road when the dead body was found in the car. I've prosecuted arson cases and murder cases in Patton Village. I've gotten 12,000 grams of pure drug cartel dope with Constable Roddy Hayden's help off of Highway 59. I've served in my professional life and my private life. I teach marriage classes, CCE classes. We're a sponsoring couple for newly engaged couples in the Catholic Church. I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. I've started the first of its kind Catholic security ministry where we arm and prevent active shooters. And this type of service, my time is up. Thank you so much. I respect y'all's time. Vince Santini.
And just real quick, for y'all in the back, can y'all just make sure you keep it down? There are a couple of people seated in the back that are hearing y'all just as much as them, so keep it down, guys.
Hi, y'all. I'm Bruce Tuff. I'd be honored to serve as your judge for the 457th District Court. I want to thank the East Montgomery County Republican Women for this, the first forum. This is amazing. We've been going through a lot of forums. This one's wonderful. I want to honor Dr. Wally's service. Thank you, Wally Wilkerson. Thank you for all your service and your leadership. I want to also honor and thank Ed Reinhardt. What a great commissioner. What a wonderful time I had working with him. It's just been amazing. So thank you, Ed. Thank you. I had an opportunity when I was president of the Woodlands Community Association. We were a little homeowners association. We worked on projects, and Ed was our commissioner. And so appreciate your leadership and guidance. And I remember when Roddy Hayden was elected. In fact, I think we were on a helicopter after Hurricane Ike, but you did great things in Precinct 4, really wonderful things. Thank you for your service. About me, I'm married to Diana. Diana was asking what I was doing at night, so I said, hey, come along and join a forum, so she's here. I have 4 daughters, Madison, Tara, Abby, and Sydney. Sydney's still at home. I've served as the chairman of the Woodlands Woodlands Township. I've served as a CISD trustee for Conroe Independent School District, president of the Woodlands Fire Department. All those positions were voluntary positions, but my experience as a civil trial litigation attorney, I've been doing, I think I've had 600 cases since 1992. I've been appointed as a guardian of the estate by Claudia Laird. I've been appointed as a receiver by Patrice McDonald. Fred Edwards appointed me as a mediator for the windstorm cases. These are judges in Montgomery County that have appointed me to represent them and serve. So I had the confidence of those judges. I have also served as an ad litem in tax cases. So I have the experience, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you. Hello, my name is Chris Buck, and I'm also asking for your vote for the 457th. I think it might be a good idea that we actually talk about what's going on in the 457th and what the 457th is about. It is a civil court. It is not criminal, it's not family. The type of cases that are civil courts in this county here are car accident, personal injury cases, contract disputes, debt collection issues. Those are the types of cases that this court will hear. I have over 10 years of litigation experience, mostly civil and also recently a lot of family as well. But I'm in the courthouse on a daily basis. Being in the courthouse regularly, I get to see what some of the best courts and the most efficient courts look like. And if I'm elected in this position, I'll be able to take this bench and be efficient right away. But at the same time, you have to understand, and efficiency is an important part in taxpayer dollars, and being efficient with taxpayer dollars is really important. But you also have to understand that on the other side of every single one of those cause numbers is an individual citizen whose life is wrapped up in conflict. And that's what litigation in civil court is. Individuals are looking for a way to resolve a conflict. And I find it, in my 10 years of practice in conflict, I had the opportunity to resolve or be alongside over hundreds of clients that have resolved conflict. And when you get them through conflict and you're able to get a resolution to their case, you're able to see a weight lifted off of their shoulders and the benefit that relief gives them. Their entire body language changes. They're able to move on with their life or their business, something that was very, very important to them. And being a part of that process is really rewarding. Now, as a judge, instead of doing that at 50 or 60 or 70 cases a year, you're going to be able to do that at hundreds or even 1,000 cases a year. And so, for that reason, that's being a part of that process and serving in that way to citizens is why I'd like to be a judge. And it's Chris Buck for the 457th. Thank you.
All right, so you'll have 1 minute to answer the question and close. Good luck. How many cases have you tried before a court, district or federal, and what was your success rate?
I can't tell you how many. Bench trials is in the hundreds now between civil and family. Jury trials are probably about half a dozen now. I've been either first or second chair on. Success rate, I couldn't tell you. I don't keep score. It's about getting the effort, getting everything you can do for the client to get them a resolution to their conflict. And ultimately, the judge has to be that kind of calm, confident demeanor that helps the parties get to the place where they can resolve conflict. And so that will be my goal for this court, and it's Chris Buck for the 457th.
Okay, I've been practicing law for 39 years as a civil trial attorney. Jury trials, they're probably close to 100, maybe between 50 and 100. Total trials, they're probably 200. I always say to the judge, I said, when you see me in the courtroom, something's wrong, because I try to resolve the conflict through either mediation or resolution. But my experience is vast. I started out, I tried my first case was a speeding ticket case, and I took the bar exam in February, and I was actually licensed before I got I graduated from law school, so that was my first trial. And so 39 years of trial experience, it's been vast and extensive. Thank you.
So this is what's referred to as a trial court, the 457th. Trials are extremely important. I was the #1 ranked trial attorney at the #1 ranked trial school in the nation, South Texas College of Law. I was hired by Brett Ligon and I was handling the most serious cases affecting Montgomery County. Capital murders, sexual assaults against children. I was prosecutor of the year in 2015 for crimes against children. I've participated in about 75 trials. That's with bench trials and jury trials. And I practiced in front of Commissioner Metz, who was Judge Metz. He's seen how I've handled cases in our community. And Judge Metz, Commissioner Metz, has endorsed me in this race for the 457th District Court because I have those things, the integrity, I have the track record in our county, and I work civil litigation full-time. So I take cases from the beginning and work them all the way up. Thank you very much. Vince Santini for the 457th District Court.
I'll add to the end of Vince's that none of those were in civil court, they were all criminal. I'm such a good lawyer, I don't have to try cases. I get out of cases before they go to trial. Civil law is predominantly fought over money. 98 to 97 to 98% of civil cases are going to settle before a trial. So it's not unusual not to try cases. We're making a big deal of something. Litigation is what happens from the day the case is filed until the case is disposed of, whether it's settled, whether there's some dispositive motion that's filed, or whether it goes to trial. Trial is really nothing more than a longer hearing. So I've conducted hundreds of hearings across multiple jurisdictions. I'm not worried about trials at all. Think about it this way. How many NFL Hall of Fame players are officials? None. Judges are officials, not players. Thank you.
To answer your question, I've tried over 200 jury trials. I've tried over 1,000 bench trials. As far as success rate, that's a pretty complex question, and let me give you an example why. I remember trying a case in Travis County in Austin, one of my least favorite places on earth. And in that case, my client's position was that they owed an insurance company $4,640. So we went all the way to a jury trial. The insurance company wouldn't settle with us. They wanted, I think, over $30,000 in unpaid premiums. And the jury came back and they awarded a verdict against my client of $4,640. Now, was that a loss? I don't really think so. In civil cases, they tend to be complex cases. There are results that sometimes look like a loss that may actually be a win. And there's sometimes, quite frankly, cases that look like a win and they end up being a loss. Civil trials are complex, and that's why you need an experienced judge to be on the bench. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is King Mara. I am running for Precinct 4 Constable. A little bit about myself. I've got about 13 years as a criminal justice adjunct instructor. Got about 30 years of law enforcement experience. I've pretty much done everything there is in law enforcement, everything from codes to undercover, you name it. I've done it. My master's degree is in education, along with criminal justice courses. That's pretty much where I lost my hair. My bachelor's is in criminal justice. For the most part, I like to be the next constable. I'm the only candidate that does not accept campaign contributions. I think that it's important that someone who's running for this position does not accept monies. If you can't afford to run, you shouldn't run. Also, when you do get monies, there comes an inherent obligation. I don't want to have any inherent obligations. The only obligation that I want to have is to serve you. I don't want to treat people differently. I want to treat everybody the same. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm Constable Rowdy Hayden. First of all, I want to thank the Republican women for having this event. If it wasn't for the Republican women in this county, we would not be a red county. I have 3 great Republican women here tonight. My wife, my mom, my aunt, all strong Republican women. Thank you. I'm Constable Rowdy Hayden. I'm proud to be the constable of the best constable department in the state, with the best deputies, and with serving the best citizens in this county. So much that we're 4th in arrest in the county. That's why local law enforcement endorses me. I run the budget efficiently, and I'm a good steward of taxpayer money. That's why the Commissioner's Court and the county judge have endorsed me. I've maintained my integrity, done no wrongdoing. That's why District Attorney Brett Ligon has endorsed me. Can I see a quick show of hands of anyone in the room that's been involved in a violent crime here in East Montgomery County today, tonight, this week? Nobody? I appreciate your support in helping me and these deputies back here continue to keep East Montgomery County a safer place to live, work, and raise your family.
Sorry, I got distracted. All right, let's see, here's your question, same thing, 1 minute to answer and close. What do you see as a potential problem for the precinct that most residents are not aware of, and how do you plan to mitigate it?
So the biggest problem we're facing right now in East Montgomery County, and those of you like me that have lived here all our lives, and the biggest problem we see is the mobility. We're growing, we're experiencing more growth, more roads, more growth, more businesses brings more crime. We're proud to partner with organizations like the Improvement District to bring the Safe Shopper program, which is here and put in place to help you be safer during the shopping seasons. The Vacation Watch program. It's when you go on out of town, where you go to your house, make sure your house is safe while you're away. So the number one problem right now we're facing is extreme growth. Thank you. And to combat that, the Commissioners Court have been great with working with us to allocate the resources we need to patrol these neighborhoods and keep you safer.
As you all know, East Montgomery County is probably one of the fastest growing counties in Texas. With that comes a change in the dynamics, the changing of population shifts, an increase of crime which will come hand in hand with an increase of population. We have to be prepared and ready for this shift to happen, and it is taking place. What I see right now is some of the most important issues are traffic. How many of y'all came out here tonight and you got hung up in a traffic light? Anybody here? Nobody. I forgot I'm talking to my opponents. There are some of you out there, I'm sure at some point in time, have been at an intersection and you're parked there and there's nothing but traffic. You get to the light, you get to the intersection, you see one or two cars at the intersection. In the meantime, you spend about 30 minutes in line. These are issues that we need to address, as well as other drug-related issues too. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Last but not least,